Good morning, lovely people. How are you all today? Are you melting? I just sort of grabbed the thermometer to show you. I don't know if this is going to pick up on screen. Let me see if I can wiggle it. Can you see that? We're at 30, what's that, 32, nearly 33, approaching 90. It's not even 8:30 in the morning. So I'm continuing today from the last video you will have seen about, oh my goodness, what is an allotment? What's an allotment? How big's my allotment? Who do the cats belong to? Etc, etc. I'm separating the two videos because I realised we had quite a nice little walk around the garden, didn't we? And I chatted a lot and it was getting long. So now I need to get a wriggle on with some work because it's too hot. It's so hot already. But I need to get on with things because I need to. I think we're all experiencing this at the moment where we're just not spending time in the gardens doing anything other than watering late at night, first thing in the morning. Actually, I've just seen a lady watering her whole plot, bless her, before she goes to work this morning. So I'd rather not be here working in this heat. The reason I'm doing it is I'm just a bit worried about my brassicas. They look great, they look really healthy, the ones that are in the cells in the cold frame. They're shaded, they've got loads of air circulating, but it's just so hot, isn't it? And they're wilting, and even with the daily watering most nights or mornings or whatever, I just feel that that's a lot of stress for them, so I want to start getting things in the ground. So I'm going to lift my red onions and hopefully get my Cavollo Nero in the ground. I'm also going to just have a little play with the celery this morning, which I'll explain as I'm actually doing it. And I think hopefully I can get everything done in a couple of hours and get out of here by sort of 10:30, 11 this morning, because it's only going to get hotter. It's crazy, isn't it? Oh my goodness, I know we're all doing some kind of mad things at the moment to try and stay cool. It's really important to soaking our garden hats in cold water before we put them on our heads. I've taken to at night because my flat is roasting because I'm in the roof, and because the front elevation is at 45 degrees, it's the perfect angle for the sun to hit. It's roasting. So what I do in the evening, I get a couple of tea towels, I soak them in some cold water, give them a really good wringing out, and then I put them in the fridge. So then when it's bedtime, I lay on the bed stark as starfishing with a tea towel over my torso. It's lovely, and it's just enough to sort of give me a bit of respite, cool me enough to let me go to sleep. And then usually 2 or 3 hours later I wake up and I'm just in a pool of sweat again. So I go to the fridge and I get the other one out, and then I get back off to sleep again. So I'm sure you've all got your little tricks and tips and what have you for staying cool in this weather. Please stay safe. Right, let's stop chatting and let's get in the garden before we turn into little roast chicken lunches. Yeah, come on, let's get to the garden. I think actually the reds could have done with staying in for another 2 or 3 weeks. You see, there's still quite a lot of green. They haven't really flopped over yet, but like I say, I'm desperate to get those Cavollos in. So out they jolly well come. So I'm just going to do exactly as I did with the, oh my goodness, with the whites the other day. I stopped watering these about a week ago, maybe 5 days ago. Oh, bone dry and hard. I'm going to really struggle to get anything planted in the bed where I took out the new potatoes. Oh, this is Wow, this is tough as well. So yeah, I'll get these all popped out. Crikey. Hung up in the shed. I mean, look. It's like... It's just... It's either a rock or it's dust. No in between. Yeah, get these hung up in the shed. And get the cavallos in with a shed load of water on them. They're really tiddly. They're really tiddly this year. But, you know, they'll do. They will do. I think it's just one of those years we have to accept that some things won't do as well in as they would in a cooler year. Other things like the squash and tomatoes will do very well for us this year. This ground, you can probably tell from my noises, just to get the trowel in even is, it's going to be hard work this morning. But we're not afraid of hard work, are we? I would say when it's like this, just avoid the garden completely if you can, but if you can't, then do a bit of a job for a few minutes, then stop, go find some shade and top up on your water. Sooner I get it done, sooner I can get in this shade and have a nice drink of something chilly. Right, slight change of plan for this bed today, I think. I've started to get some holes ready for getting the Cavolo in, but my goodness, that has been hard work. This ground is baked, absolutely baked hard. I mean, you can see, look at this, these huge great lumps that are coming out. So I think what I'm going to do, I will get this row in, but for the other row and any in between, I think what I'll do is tonight I'll give the area a really good soaking, whack the shade nets on, and then hopefully tomorrow morning come back and it may be that it will have softened it just enough for me to work it a bit more easily, because honestly at the moment in this sort of heat I'm not going to do myself or my plants any favours by carrying on much longer this morning. So yeah, that's the new plan. I will get this little row planted up and netted right now though. There are cats everywhere this morning. They're all seeking out little shady areas. I don't blame them. Are you hot, all you kitties? So there's Rosie and Poppy, and then I'm sure someone else here too. You alright there, Rust? Oh, it's hard work being a hot cat, isn't it? Let's get them some water. Oh, every now and again there's a little bit of a breeze. It's such a relief. Goodness me. Okay, so I'm in the celery patch. I'll give you a closer look in a second. But just to speak briefly about to blanch or not to blanch. So, in the past, or for the last 2 years, I've grown green Utah, which is a self-blanching type. So it doesn't need anything doing with it. It creates a lot of cover with its foliage, and that provides just enough shade so that you don't need to do anything by way of blanching. This year, as you know, I had that hinky compost and the whole lot failed. So I was very kindly given some seedlings from another plot neighbour, and I've got, I don't know, about 10 or 12 plants in here, and they're doing okay. One of the really important things with celery is, because it's related to a bog plant, you really, really, really want to keep it moist, if possible. So part of my rationale for where I'm growing it is that now in the height of summer, as the sun's coming around, they're actually getting a lot of shade from the flint corn, because the flint corn's gotten so big. And if there's only one thing I can water, if I've only got time to water one thing, it's my celery. So onto this blanching business. There's basically sort of 3 reasons for blanching. One is to try to get longer, straighter stems. 2 is to have a slightly more tender stem. And 3, it's thought that blanching takes out some of the bitterness. Personally, I don't have an issue with any of those things. I'm not bothered about the length of my stalks. I'm not bothered about how tender they are, because I use it in cooking, in soups. I rarely have it raw. And in terms of bitterness, well, I've never really noticed that with any of my celery before. But because this is a new one to me and it is supposed to be blanched, I'm going to do one of them as a blanched. And the other thing about blanching is the non-blanched parts are much more highly nutritious than the blanched parts. So likewise with your leeks, those white parts, yeah, they might taste yummy and tender, but they are not as nutritious as the green parts. And just saying cheerio to my neighbours, bye! So same with celery. Those lovely green stalks I grow on my self-blanching types, more nutritious than any of that white anemic stuff you'll buy in the shops. So I am going to do one just to see what the difference is with these. And when it comes to blanching, there's basically 2 methods. One is the very old-fashioned method of trenching, whereby before you even plant them, you dig a big trench, maybe sort of about a foot deep, and they get planted into the bottom of the trench. And then as they're growing, rather like we would with, say, potatoes, gradually earth them up, always leaving a few leaves showing, as we will with the paper technique. Those leaves, you need to leave the leaves showing because they still need to photosynthesize and get some energy from the sun. But yes, gradually fill the trench in, earth them up, so you end up with foot-long stalks or so. I didn't dig a trench for these because at that stage I really didn't know what I was going to be growing here, because I didn't know whether I'd have any celery at all. So I'm going to try the newspaper trick. So I'm going to change where you guys are so you can have a closer look. But bear in mind, I've never done this before, so we will learn together. I've selected my victim. It's going to be this one. Partly just because I can access it quite easily. So, or maybe I'll do all of them in this row and not the others, just in case this really is a bitter type. Yeah, let's try that. So I've got my newspaper, a free newspaper, because this is quite short, I think what I'm going to do is fold the newspaper in half for now. Yeah, I think that will do. And then let's get some string cut ready. I've got a feeling this is going to be one of those jobs that's easier with 2 pairs of hands. I need my little garden fairies, elves to come and help. I don't have any. Okay, so and basically all you're doing with blanching is excluding the light, like exactly as you would do with your spuds with earthing up, because we don't want green potatoes because that's actually not good for you. Will that do it? Has that got enough room to move, grow, and then very simply keep that in place with a bit of string? This is going to look so weird. Oh my goodness. Is that going to do the trick? I hope so. So should we do this one as well? Oh, this one's quite a chunky monkey. Yeah, let's do this one as well. Occurs to me in doing this is actually exposing more of the soil. Obviously that was all flopped over and covering it, so and because they do want to be kept really quite moist, I'm going to have to think about some sort of mulch for these gaps now. That's so weird looking. That's so weird, having never done it before. I'm growing a stack of newspapers. Right, well that's the only newspaper I've got today, so I'll bring some more down and maybe do this, a third one in this row. I'll see how these two go for a few days and then just make a judgment about, do I do the rest of the bed of these like this? We'll see, I will decide as time goes on. Right. They all need a jolly good watering, and I need to think about some sort of mulch from somewhere. Maybe just some more newspaper down in the spaces. That would work, wouldn't it? I think what I'll do is, yeah, pop back to the station and just get a load of paper to put in all the gaps, get a good soaking onto it, get the paper on. That should help. I feel like I'm in the south of France. I can't get over the weather. I've come to a part of the garden. It's just a little bit more shady to gather a few bits of fruit. Look at the size of these blackberries, they're huge. Oh, so beautiful. The thing about this weather, it just seems to make everything sort of slow down. I feel like I'm in slow motion all the time, and the air is so still, and there's this really beautiful quietness that just descends over the whole garden. It really is magical, if a little bit too hot for comfort. I'm doing my impression of Rafa Nadal with my face running with sweat. It seems so early to be picking blackberries. I know quite a few people have been commenting about this recently, that when we were kids, you know, before the war, it was always one of those right at the end of the school holiday jobs. Just before we went back to school in the middle of September, that's when the first pickings would be around. So this seems so early. It looks like in general we're going to have really, really wonderful berries this year. But I think some of the orchard fruits, the apples and pears, not quite so good. That may of course be because we had that late frost snow in March, and of course some of the blossom may have copped it, as it were. Oh, just beautiful. Just quietly picking fruit in the sunshine and the silence. Golden. Right. Well, I think I really am now running with sweat. It's still only about 10:30, but it really is getting too hot for comfort now. So I'm going to be sensible, get myself home, stick my head under the cold tap, make myself a blackberry smoothie. Oh, blackberry with some cucumber in my smoothie. That would be gorgeous. Gorgeous cooling of the cucumber. So for now, I shall say to you all, cheerio. I hope if you're trying to plant things, your soil isn't quite as concrete as mine, but I have a feeling it will be. Whatever it is you're up to, do it safely out of the sun when you can. Just enjoy it. Enjoy this summer, because it's not often we have it as beautiful as this. Wiping sweat away. I'll see you all again really soon, I hope. But in the meantime, take care. Drink lots of water. Put your hat on. Oh, I haven't got my hat on. See you soon.